There's an argument that because of the discretion that's allowed by the prosecutors and the judges, that the law is somehow being used in a reasonable manner. The problem is that we have different prosecutors and we have different judges out there.
There are some bizarre, unusual, draconian, disproportionate sentences that were achieved by my predecessor and other parts of California, and there may still be more going on, and that's a problem.
If you're a district attorney, you just pick and choose. You decide what you want to do this week.
It's a lottery system. It can depend on, which prosecutor you get assigned to and which judge, and that person gets a 25-year sentence versus somebody else who just happens to get assigned a different prosecutor and a different judge, and they only get 3 or 4 years.
The district attorney has discretion whether to seek the full weight of 3 strikes or not. And we would submit that prosecutors all across California understand the tremendous trust that's been placed in them by the public in ensuring that justice is done in cases.
Pamela Martinez served 7 years of a 25 to life sentence for stealing a toolbox.
A California woman is getting ready to go back to jail after years of appeals on her 3-strike convictions.
Surely they can see the real circumstances of this case, and they're not going to want a life sentence again. And absolutely not. The district attorney said, we will not accept a plea bargain in this case, and we insist on, we think we can get the conviction of petty theft again, and we want that 25 years to life reinstated.
And in those instances where the district attorney appears to have still been overzealous, the judges also enjoy the discretion to reduce the punishment to something less than a life sentence.
The judge offered to strike one of Chano's strikes, which he's allowed to do. The prosecuting attorney said, no way, absolutely not. Now my question is, what if this is the judge's discretion, why is he taking orders from the prosecuting attorney?
Judges are under a lot of political pressure to do what's popular. You do hear about these really harsh sentences being meted out for small thefts as a 3rd strike.
I mean, it's one thing to say that you might have a little variation and someone has a 20-year sentence versus a 25-year sentence. But for the difference to be so wide, to be so broad that someone could have a 3-year sentence versus another person with an identical record gets 25 years is ludicrous. I mean, that is just too broad, and the disparity is too great.
Unfortunately, at a young age, when I accepted plea bargains, I didn't realize at the time that they would come back to haunt me and slap me in the face with a life sentence.
If they went through and basically said, okay, I'm going to plead guilty, in their minds, they were kind of fulfilling a contract. They were going to do X amount of time to not have to go through the trial, to save the state from the trial and all the possible appeals.
I wouldn't have accepted a robbery conviction back in 1978. In 1987, I accepted a 2nd-degree robbery charge, which means the no use of force or fear. But the fact is it was actually shoplifting. I was shoplifting to support a drug habit. The security guard scraped his knee chasing me, so they charged me with robbery.
So in their minds, they've gone through this contract and there's kind of a finality to it. To turn around then and implement something like the 3 strikes law, which now gives them 25 years to life based on these prior negotiations, in their minds is a violation of contract law.
His 1988 burglary is the one that we really have problems with. Chano's an addict, he's a heroin addict, and he was high at the time, and he broke down on the freeway. He walked up to his mother's house to call and get some help to get towed. He had left his keys sitting in the vehicle. He couldn't get in. So she had a small house on her property that she rented out, and Chano had always done all the maintenance work on it. I mean, he didn't break in in as much as, he could just walk into the house. So he was on the phone. The 2 brothers who lived there came home, and Chano panicked. He ran out holding the receiver of the phone. The public defender that he had said, this is a nothing, you're going to do a couple of months. Of course, later we found out that this could have been argued down to a trespassing charge. This was his home. This was his tenants. Nothing of value was taken. It was returned, but neither here nor there. He pled guilty to it. So again, second-degree burglary, which wasn't a felony at the time.
If you have someone who's facing 25 to life, and they have a case that maybe they're not even guilty of, and you tell them, look, the DA says he'll give you 32 months in state prison, you'll be out in 24 months. But if you go to trial, they say they're pulling out all their guns, and if you're convicted, they're going to give you 25 to life. How many of us would take that gamble?
My third strike was uttering a bad check. I basically put a check into my business account that wasn't mine. And the check was given to me by family members that I felt were close.
And he signed the affidavit, and he told them where he got the check from. He thought that it would be okay, and it basically would have been a situation of probation. So when the public defender came out to us and she talked to us, because we were in Torrance, where the conviction rate on Hispanics and African American was 97% guilty, she suggested that we take this deal.
The fact of the matter is that the 3 strikes took those same 2 cases that I already did time for and paid my debt for, and used them as a catalyst to make me take a deal for 7 years as opposed to 35 years to life.
If you come from an impacted community of poverty or a racial minority who has historically faced prejudice and oppression, how much faith do you have in the system to protect you? How much faith do you reasonably have in your defense attorney, in your public defender, in the court, in the prosecution, in a jury, to render a fair and just verdict?